Very cool the political editor of The Sun is still with us. And actually, in terms of what's happening here in the UK, there's been quite a development this afternoon in regard to stopping the boats, smashing the gangs, major new piece of legislation in regard to this. Just tell us about this.
Yeah, I mean, I must confess, Peter, I've been slightly on top of it. I haven't been slightly on top of it in the detail I have, but this is, obviously the smashing the gangs. It's stop the boats. It's the three-letter slogan. This is the meat on the issue. I just get the feeling that will it match the rhetoric in the way?
It's this new crime of endangering lives.
Yes, and
that is something that you get the gangs on. But a lot of people will say, "Where's the deterrent?" Actually,
exactly. There's the deterrent, and also there's only so many times that you can, So the Labour Party have announced many times that they're going to sort of treat people smugglers and people running this evil trade as like terrorists. Fine, this is the piece of legislation that does that. But frankly, we're already using, our intelligence agencies to tackle migrant gangs.
Mm-hmm.
If they know where these boats are. Mm-hmm. It's whether they have the will to actually go in and actually shut these things down. We know where they're coming from. We know the routes. They're coming from China. They're coming through Germany. They're coming through Turkey. The engines come up through Turkey. The inflatable. You could go online right now on Alibaba, the big Chinese marketplace, and you can buy one of these boats and have it shipped to Europe very quickly. So, again, it's just a little bit Keir Starmery for my taste. It's, lots of complex loyalty solutions, but actually what you really need to do is break some eggs.
In terms of breaking eggs, perhaps they have done that on infrastructure, but Michael O'Leary, the head of Ryanair, is saying that there probably won't be a new runway at Heathrow until 2050. How do you assess this politically? Has Ed Miliband said anything yet?
I think he has surfaced. I think they've put some. He is around. They're sort of playing down the idea of a rift. And frankly, I think Ed Miliband is. He's got so many. He's fighting on so many different fronts. And actually, I think he can probably swallow Heathrow. Mm-hmm. But on that very reason as well. It's going to be years, and it's going to be a different government's problem when this finally gets going. They think they slightly rode back last night, and they said that, it will be, they're giving Heathrow the green light, but they're sort of vowing that it will reach planning permission stage by the end of this Parliament. Well, that's another 4 years to go.
That's still nothing actually done. That's not being built or being
And this
constructed.
is the thing, this is the problem that government has, is they can't just say, look, well, we've won the argument on planning now, we've won the argument on growth. Now is this is just the beginning of it. This is actually where it really gets tough. So one speech does not growth make. It's going to be a long process. And the difficult problem the government have is there's a gap in the fact that the budget massively put up taxes, but also massively put up spending. But if you look at the forecasts of GDP figures that were published last November, by the end of this Parliament, the public spending is dropping off, or not going up as quickly as you'd think it was. And then you're completely right to say, Michael O'Leary is completely right as well to say, look, well, all this stuff that was announced yesterday is going to take 20 years perhaps to kick in. There's going to be a big gap in the middle. So before the growth-inspired GDP boom, which we're promised and maybe one day will come, the government's going to run out of money again, and they have to come back. And the tax burden's already the highest, in peacetime. Can they do that? And as we've discussed before, do they have the political capital and the appetite to cut spending? And I would argue probably not. So the crunch is going to come. All great things, great stuff announced, yesterday, fine. But it's where's the short-term growth that this government's survival is basically reliant on.
Because no one's going to vote for them in 2029 saying, well, in another 10 years we might have this, that or the other.
I think, what was the 2001 re-election slogan, which I think was Tony Blair's re-election slogan in 2001, which was lots done, lots more to do. I think they'll try and play that one again, that old tune again. But with growth bumping around at 0.4%,
not the 2.5% they say they need. And they bet the farm on that.
They bet the farm. The entire strategy is predicated upon not having to cut public spending, and they will not be able to do that without some growth.
Just before you go, Harry, tell us about a Russian arrest warrant for your colleague, who's been on the station many times, Jerome Starkey, the Sun defence editor.
They don't like it up him, do they?
No.
Jerome Starkey, I'm sure he's been on this show many times, he is an absolutely fearless guy.
Yeah,
he has
first-class journalist.
He is, and he was actually, he entered Russia he was embedded with some Ukrainian troops last year, I believe, and he actually entered entered Kursk, which is obviously the part of Russia where the Ukrainians have been on the counter-offensive and taken Russian territory essentially. Now this has really wound up the Russians because Kursk itself is basically where the Red Army beat the Nazis. It's a very sentimental part of Russia, and to use it to Ukrainians has been a big blow to Putin. So Jerome Starkey is now on their most wanted list, which is slightly pathetic, and it just shows you just exactly the sort of it's clear we have as a newspaper and we've been taking a very forthright approach to Russian aggression, and this is how what should we expect? This is how Russia treats critics.
Harry, thank you. That's Harry Cole, political editor of The Sun, who's been with us.